Hello, it's Alex and welcome to Hey Little Thrifter. Today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in June. I read 3 books and first up was Foxfire, Confessions of a Girl Gang by Joyce Oates. And this is the first Joyce Oates book that I have read, and I did like it quite a bit, but I think I expected to like it more. This is set in 1950s New York. This tells the story of Maddie and her friends, who are all part of a girl gang, as you may have guessed. And there's even a line here that says, "The very sound girl gang had the power to send the blood racing," which is true, you know, it sounds exciting. And this definitely had its moments, but it was also, I found a little dull in places and a bit slow going. The writing style is more of a stream of consciousness, and there's a lack of punctuation, which it took me a little while to get into. I found it quite difficult at first, but after a chapter or two I really got into it and I actually quite enjoyed that writing style overall. Again, as it says in the name, it's the Confessions of a Girl Gang, and this is Maddie reflecting on this time of her life and writing her memoir, basically. So a lot of it is from her perspective, but then there are certain parts of the story when she, you know, wasn't there or was not involved at all in a certain situation, so I found it a bit confusing as to how she had all of this information and detail of something she wasn't part of. I don't know if anyone else read this and felt the same way, but I just found that a bit odd. Obviously, I'm sure she got second-hand information from somewhere, but the amount of detail was as though it was more a story rather than her actually writing her memoir. So, I don't know. Anyway, it tells the story of her and her friends. They're all in their teenage years and they're starting to, you know, figure themselves out and each other out and who they are in the world. One of the big themes in the book is feminism, but it also leans towards this revenge against men aspect for a lot of the book. I really liked all the characters, even though they're not necessarily likeable. I still enjoyed reading about them. At times you really do feel for them and, you know, you support them, but there are other times when, you know, what they do is quite shocking and maybe not something you would necessarily be supportive of. So this book definitely had its great and wonderful moments that I really liked. I think overall I more appreciated it than I did enjoy it, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Next up I read The Forbidden Game, Part 1, The Hunter by L.J. Smith, and she also wrote the famous Vampire Diaries series, which I haven't read, but I know is quite popular, and also has a TV series, which I thought I would love, but I gave it an episode or 2 and I just wasn't really feeling it. Anyway, so this book was part of the Point Horror series, which was huge in the 90s, and this is legit my copy from back in the day. And when I read this recently, I honestly didn't really remember it. So it could just be that I have a terrible memory, or it could be that I bought it at the time and never actually got around to reading it. It's definitely possible. So this tells the story of Jenny and her boyfriend and friends, and they're having a party, and Jenny has picked up a game for them to play, but once they start playing it, they actually find themselves physically transported into the game. She had bought the game from this mysterious fellow Julian, who just so happens to be incredibly good looking and charming. So while they're in the game, they meet Julian there, who tells them that they each have to face their own worst nightmare, and they basically have to play the game to survive. And anything that happens to them in the game, if they were to get injured or killed, then that happens in real life too. So it's pretty serious. It turns out that Julian is obsessed with Jenny, and he has created the game somehow in order to win her heart. I'm not really sure. Anyway, I quite enjoyed it. It wasn't amazing, but I wasn't expecting it to be, really. I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more if I read it when I was younger, for sure. But as an older reader, you know, I wasn't into it that much, but it was still good fun, and I would be interested in reading the other two of the series at some point. I do have them already, so I'll definitely get around to them one of these days. The author must have definitely seen the film Labyrinth with David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly, because there were quite a few similarities. The fact that this weird, mysterious, attractive guy has sent this teenage girl into a game that she has to complete within a certain amount of time in order to save someone. Yeah, there were just a lot of similarities to Labyrinth, if you've ever seen it, and if not, what have you been doing with your life? So yeah, I thought that was kind of amusing and kind of annoying at the same time, because it was like, yeah, you just blatantly ripped that from Labyrinth. But anyway, yeah, it was just a fun read, exactly kind of what I expected from it, and I gave it 3 stars out of 5. And last up, I read The Field of Blood by Denise Mina, and this is set in the early 80s in Glasgow, and it follows the main character Paddy, who is a teenager, and she's working at a newspaper. At the moment she's just on like the lowest rung, but she has big ambitions of becoming a journalist. So a crime has been committed and a young boy has been found murdered, and Paddy becomes really involved in the case and trying to figure out what happened and who did it, because the police are focused in one direction, but she doesn't believe that that is where they should be looking. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was great, and I really liked Paddy. I really liked her character. This is the first book I've read by Denise Mina, and I really liked her writing style, and she definitely writes her characters really well. Like, you can really get to know them, and I felt like even the smaller characters in the book, you know, you got a sense of who they were. There's also a lot of humour in here, which, not like laugh out loud funny, but just, you know, really wry, humorous, slice of life depictions. And yeah, I really enjoyed that side of her writing, and it really got me involved in the story and the characters. This is more of a mystery, I would say, and like even a character study, because it also follows Paddy in the other areas of her life with her family and her fiance, as well as this investigation that she's undertaking. Not that it's a slow moving book at all, but it's not like a thriller where there's, you know, action happening every minute. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was great, and I gave it 4 stars out of 5, and I look forward to reading some more of her work. So that was everything I read in June. Let me know what you're reading at the moment, or if you have any recommendations. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I will see you again in my next video. Bye!